You grow up hearing that Hogwarts is the safest place in the wizarding world. Adults say it like a spell, like repeating it often enough makes it true. Ancient wards, brilliant professors, a castle designed to protect its students. When you're 11, clutching your acceptance letter with shaking hands, you believe every word. Why wouldn't you? This is Hogwarts, the greatest school of magic ever built. But standing here now, older, wiser, walking the corridors late at night, when the castle creaks and sighs around you, you start to wonder if anyone ever stopped to ask the obvious question. Why does so much death, danger, and darkness keep happening here? The walls are thick with magic, yes, but also with history. And history, you're learning, doesn't fade. It settles. It soaks into stone. You pass a window and glance down at the grounds far below. The lake is black tonight, smooth as glass. Somewhere beneath its surface live creatures most students only read about in textbooks, beings who predate the school itself. The forest looms at the edge of the grounds, dense and alive, officially forbidden and yet somehow always involved when things go wrong. You've never understood that part. If Hogwarts is meant to be safe, why is it surrounded by things that want to kill you? The staircases shift beneath your feet, changing direction without warning. Portraits whisper as you pass. Some of them watch you too closely, their eyes sharp with interest. You've been told it's all part of the charm. You're meant to get lost. You're meant to adapt. But getting lost can be dangerous, especially in a castle with moving walls, hidden rooms, and corridors that don't appear on any map. You remember your first year, how casually everyone talked about hazards. Don't go to the third-floor corridor. Don't wander at night. Don't touch that book. Don't say that name. The warnings piled up so quickly that you stopped questioning them. That should have been the first red flag. At most schools, danger is an accident, a loose stair, a broken railing. Here, danger feels intentional, built in, like the castle itself is testing you, watching to see who survives. You think about the classes, potions that explode if you stir the wrong way, creatures that can crush bones, poison minds, or kill with a glance. Spells powerful enough to permanently alter memory, body, or soul, taught to teenagers and trusted to their restraint. Trust is a funny thing to base safety on. Someone laughs down the corridor, the sound echoing strangely, stretched thin by distance and stone. For a moment, it almost sounds like screaming. You stop walking without realizing it, heart thudding, until the laughter fades and the silence returns. Hogwarts never really goes quiet. Even now, you can feel it humming under your skin, magic flowing through the floors, the walls, the ceiling above your head. Ancient magic, old magic, the kind that doesn't care who you are or what you deserve. You've read about the founders, of course, how they built this place together, pouring their beliefs into its very foundation. Courage, intelligence, loyalty, ambition. Ideals sound noble when written down, but ideals clash, and when they do, the damage lasts. They never really agreed on what Hogwarts should be. That disagreement didn't disappear when they did. It stayed. You reach an intersection where 4 corridors meet, each stretching into shadow. For a second, you hesitate, unsure which way leads back to your common room. You've walked this route dozens of times before, but tonight the castle feels subtly different, like it's shifted just enough to keep you guessing. You choose a path and keep moving. Students like to say Hogwarts is dangerous because it prepares you for the real world. That fear builds character. That surviving here makes you stronger. Maybe that's true, or maybe Hogwarts was never meant to be safe at all. Maybe it was meant to be a crucible, a place that strips you down, exposes you to darkness early, teaches you, sometimes brutally, that magic is not kind, not fair, and not controlled by good intentions. As you finally spot the familiar doorway ahead, relief washes over you, followed immediately by an uncomfortable thought. If this is the safest place in the wizarding world, what does that say about the rest of it? And more importantly, what does it say about the people who keep sending their children here, year after year, trusting a castle that has been quietly proving for 1,000 years that safety was never the point? What makes Hogwarts truly dangerous isn't just the monsters or the curses. It's the way danger is treated as normal. At most schools, if a staircase collapses or a student vanishes, classes stop. Parents are notified. Investigations begin. At Hogwarts, the staircases literally move on their own, sometimes shifting while students are on them, and everyone just learns to adjust their step. No safety rails, no warnings, just experience. From your very first year, you're trained to accept instability. The castle itself is alive. Corridors rearrange, doors vanish, rooms appear only when they feel like it. A student late to class might not be lazy. They might have been rerouted by the building into a completely different wing. And no one considers this a flaw. It's considered charming. Then there are the classes. In first year, you're handed a wand, an object capable of causing explosions, memory damage, or permanent physical alteration, and taught spells by teenagers who graduated only a few years ago. Mistakes aren't hypothetical. They're expected. A wrong flick of the wrist can set something on fire. A mispronounced incantation can cause spells to rebound. A lapse in concentration can leave you injured or unconscious. And yet, there are no gloves, no protective barriers, no emergency shut-off spells cast around the classroom. When accidents happen, they're treated as learning experiences. Take potions. You're brewing volatile substances that can melt skin, release toxic fumes, or explode if stirred incorrectly. Ingredients include venom, poisonous plants, and substances that react violently when mixed under the wrong conditions. Students routinely leave class with burns, boils, or strange side effects that take hours, sometimes days, to reverse. And still, this is considered a core subject. Defense against the dark arts is even worse. The curriculum isn't theoretical. You're not studying diagrams of curses from a distance. You're facing them directly. Hexes, jinxes, creatures designed to cause fear, paralysis, or psychological harm. In some years, the teacher is competent. In others, deeply unqualified. Occasionally actively dangerous, and the school keeps going anyway. Hogwarts doesn't pause education when things go wrong. It absorbs the chaos and keeps moving. What's more unsettling is how early students are exposed to lethal concepts. By the age of 11, you're learning about spells that can strip someone of free will. By 13, you're taught about creatures that drain happiness and sanity. By 15, you're practicing curses that, in the wrong hands, could kill. There's no phased introduction, no real moral framework enforced by the institution itself. The assumption is simple: you'll figure it out. And then there's detention. At other schools, detention means sitting in a room quietly. At Hogwarts, detention might mean entering a forbidden forest filled with creatures that hunt humans. It might mean handling dangerous magical artifacts. It might mean assisting staff in environments where trained adults have been injured before. Punishment often involves increased risk. Even the school's protection systems are inconsistent. There are enchantments, yes, ancient, powerful ones, but they're selective. They protect the castle from outside threats while leaving students vulnerable to what's already inside. And what's inside is vast. Hidden chambers, locked corridors, restricted sections filled with cursed books, objects that whisper, mirrors that trap minds, rooms that test desires, staircases that lead nowhere. Most of these dangers aren't accidents. They're known. Teachers know the forest is dangerous. They know the castle holds ancient magic. They know students explore anyway. And instead of removing the danger, Hogwarts relies on one thing above all else: survival through adaptation. You're expected to learn not just spells, but awareness. Not just theory, but instinct. Not just rules, but when rules won't save you. By the end of your second year, you don't just know more magic. You're braver, harder, less shocked by the idea of danger existing right beside you. And that's the real lesson Hogwarts teaches early on. If you can survive this place, you can survive almost anything. But the question remains, at what cost? Because the longer you stay, the more you realize something unsettling. Hogwarts doesn't just teach danger, it creates people who are comfortable living inside it. And that realization becomes even darker when you look at what the school has allowed to happen repeatedly, over centuries. That's where we're going next. If Hogwarts were dangerous only once, it could be dismissed as an anomaly, a freak accident, a dark chapter long closed. But Hogwarts isn't dangerous occasionally, it's dangerous repeatedly. The same kinds of disasters happen again and again across centuries with different names and different victims, but the same silence afterward. Take student deaths. They're rare, yes, but they happen. And what's more disturbing than the deaths themselves is how quickly the school absorbs them and moves on. Memorials are brief, classes resume, exams continue, the castle doesn't slow down. There's no institutional reckoning, no overhaul of safety, no rewriting of rules, no acknowledgement that maybe, just maybe, something is deeply wrong. Instead, tragedy becomes part of the lore, stories whispered in common rooms, names etched quietly into memory, lessons learned indirectly through fear rather than reform. And it's not just death. Students are petrified, possessed, cursed, memory altered, emotionally shattered. These aren't hypothetical risks. They're documented outcomes of attending the school. Yet Hogwarts never fundamentally changes. Why? Because Hogwarts doesn't see danger as a flaw. It sees it as a filter. Those who survive become stronger. Those who don't become stories. Look at how the school handles restricted knowledge. There's a library wing full of books that can corrupt, curse, or permanently damage the mind. These texts aren't destroyed. They're locked behind chains and warnings, as if a thin barrier of policy is enough to contain centuries of lethal magic. Students aren't told why something is dangerous, only that it is. And for curious minds, that's an invitation. Hogwarts attracts intelligent, ambitious, reckless students, people who push boundaries, people who test limits. The very traits the school claims to value are the same traits that lead students straight toward danger. And when those students get hurt, the response is almost always the same. You shouldn't have been there. As if the castle didn't tempt them, as if the dangers weren't placed deliberately within reach. Then there's the staff. Many are brilliant, dedicated, powerful, but brilliance does not equal responsibility. Teachers are given enormous authority with minimal oversight. Some are cruel, some are negligent, some are actively unstable, and yet they're entrusted with children wielding weapons disguised as tools. If a professor crosses a line, consequences are rare and inconsistent. Years can pass before action is taken, if it's taken at all. The system protects the institution, not the students. And that brings us to the biggest illusion Hogwarts maintains, that everything is under control. The enchantments, the wards, the headmaster's office, all of it creates the impression of absolute mastery over chaos. But history proves otherwise. Time and again, threats rise from within the school itself. Hidden chambers, forbidden experiments, ancient grudges resurfacing, artifacts awakening at the worst possible moments. Hogwarts isn't breached, it erupts because it was built on layered magic, old magic, conflicting magic, magic that doesn't always agree with itself. The deeper you go into the castle's history, the more you realize it was never designed to be safe. It was designed to be enduring, and endurance doesn't require kindness. It requires resilience. Students aren't protected from danger because danger is part of the training. Hogwarts doesn't just educate future witches and wizards, it hardens them. You learn early that help might not come in time, that rules won't always save you, that survival depends on your own judgment. And once you accept that, you stop asking whether the school is dangerous. You start asking whether it was meant to be. Because a place that repeatedly exposes children to trauma, violence, and lethal magic without changing isn't failing. It's functioning exactly as intended. And in the next part, we'll confront the most uncomfortable question of all. Who benefits from that design? That's where things get truly unsettling. To understand why Hogwarts remains dangerous, you have to stop looking at it as a school and start seeing it as something else entirely. Hogwarts is not designed like a modern educational institution. It's designed like a trial. From the moment students arrive, they're separated, ranked, and watched. Houses aren't just communities, they're pressure systems. Each one rewards different traits: ambition, courage, loyalty, intellect, and each one pushes those traits to extremes. The school doesn't try to balance students, it amplifies them. A brave student is encouraged to take risks. An ambitious student is encouraged to pursue power. A curious student is encouraged to seek forbidden knowledge. A loyal student is encouraged to endure hardship without complaint. And when those traits collide with danger, Hogwarts doesn't intervene. It observes. This is where the idea of negligence breaks down, because negligence implies carelessness. What Hogwarts displays instead is selective indifference. The school reacts swiftly to external threats, intrusions, invasions, attacks from outside forces. But when danger emerges internally through students or staff, the response is slow, restrained, almost reluctant. Why? Because internal danger is useful. It reveals who can handle pressure, who can make hard decisions, who survives when authority fails. Hogwarts has produced some of the most powerful witches and wizards in history. That's not an accident. It's the result of a system that allows adversity to shape its students in brutal ways. But that system requires casualties, and the school accepts that. Consider how secrets are treated. There are hidden rooms, forbidden corridors, magical objects left behind by generations of powerful individuals. Many of these could be removed, destroyed, or sealed permanently. They aren't, because secrets act as tests. Who will seek them? Who will resist them? Who will misuse them? Hogwarts doesn't prevent these interactions. It lets them happen and then deals with the aftermath, if necessary. Even the school's leadership reflects this mindset. Headmasters are not chosen for gentleness. They're chosen for strength, intellect, and political resilience. They're expected to make impossible choices, often sacrificing the few to protect the many, or the institution itself. Students are rarely told the full truth. Information is rationed. Warnings are vague. The belief is that knowledge too early can be more dangerous than ignorance, so students learn the hard way. And then there's the unspoken rule that governs everything. If you're clever enough, brave enough, or ruthless enough, you'll survive. If not, the castle will swallow you. Hogwarts is ancient, and ancient systems don't adapt to individuals. Individuals adapt to them, or they break. The most disturbing part? Many graduates look back on their time at Hogwarts with pride. They talk about how it made them stronger, sharper, more capable. They don't talk about the fear, or the nights they thought they might die, or the friends who never fully recovered, because pain becomes normalized when everyone shares it. And that normalization is Hogwarts' greatest defense. It doesn't need to justify its danger. It only needs students to accept it. By the time you realize how unsafe the school truly is, you're already complicit, already shaped by it, already benefiting from the strength it forced upon you, which leads to an even darker realization. Hogwarts doesn't exist primarily to protect children. It exists to produce survivors, and not everyone is meant to survive. Now, we'll examine the places inside Hogwarts that prove this beyond any doubt. Locations so dangerous they should never exist in a school at all. If Hogwarts were merely unsafe because of bad decisions, theatrical accidents, or occasional lapses in judgment, that would be one thing. But the real danger lies deeper. It's built into the castle itself. Hogwarts is not a passive structure. It is a living magical environment, shaped by 1,000 years of layered spells, forgotten enchantments, and unresolved intentions. Many of these magics were created in eras where safety standards simply did not exist, when experimentation often came at the cost of lives, and they were never fully removed. The staircases are the first warning sign. They don't just move randomly, they redirect. Students have been led into restricted areas, dead ends, and dangerous sections of the castle without realizing it until it was too late. The school doesn't correct this behavior. It allows it to continue year after year. Then there are the doors. Some require passwords, some require riddles, some require nothing at all until the wrong person opens them. Behind many of these doors are rooms that should never be accessible to children. Rooms containing cursed objects, unstable magic, or remnants of failed experiments from past staff members. The castle remembers these things even when the people do not, and it does not forget easily. Hidden passages snake through the walls, some mapped, many not. A student can disappear into one and emerge in a different wing entirely, or not emerge at all. No central authority tracks all of them. Some are known only to the castle and a handful of portraits, who may or may not feel like talking that day. The portraits themselves are another overlooked danger. They are sentient, magical constructs with opinions, grudges, and selective honesty. Some offer help, others mislead intentionally. A few still operate under values from centuries ago, values that see modern students as weak, foolish, or expendable. And then there are the rooms that respond. The room of requirement is often cited as a helpful space, but its darker implications are rarely discussed. A room that gives you exactly what you think you need is not inherently safe. It reflects desire, desperation, and intent without judgment. In the wrong moment, it can become a weapon. Now consider the dungeons. They are cold, damp, and saturated with potion residue and lingering magical reactions. Generations of students have brewed volatile substances there. Spilled ingredients, failed brews, and experimental formulas have soaked into the stone. The air itself carries traces of danger, and yet students are brought here weekly. Above ground isn't much safer. The towers are exposed to brutal weather. The battlements are unguarded. A single misstep, distraction, or shove could send a student falling dozens of feet. Protective charms exist, but they're not foolproof, especially during magical disturbances. Then there's the lake, a massive body of water filled with intelligent beings, aggressive creatures, and unknown depths. Students are warned away but not fully protected. Windows look directly into it, boats cross it. Detentions sometimes take place nearby. The forest is worse. The Forbidden Forest is not just dangerous, it's openly hostile. It contains predators, cursed beings, and ancient entities that predate the school itself. And yet students are sent there as punishment. Not accidentally, not unknowingly, deliberately. Hogwarts doesn't just tolerate danger, it integrates it into daily life. The castle does not function like a shelter. It functions like a proving ground. Every hallway, every staircase, every hidden door carries the same silent message. Pay attention, or suffer the consequences. And students learn this quickly. Those who survive long enough develop instincts sharper than any textbook could teach. They learn to listen to the walls, to trust their gut, to sense when the air feels wrong. That kind of awareness doesn't come from safety, it comes from exposure. Here now, we'll confront the most disturbing truth yet, that Hogwarts doesn't just allow danger, it actively places students in harm's way through its curriculum. By the time you reach 6th or 7th year, the danger isn't just environmental, it's academic. Hogwarts teaches students to wield real magic with real consequences from day one. And it does so without the kind of safeguards any modern school would consider mandatory. Take a simple example, dueling. Students are encouraged to defend themselves, cast spells, and engage in competitive duels with peers. Spells range from the mildly painful, like a jinx or a hex, to the extremely dangerous, like stupefy or expelliarmus under pressure. Instructors assume competence or correct mistakes after the fact. There is no padded arena, no controlled environment, no practice wand that can prevent accidental injury. One miscast spell and a student could be seriously hurt, or worse. Potions are even more alarming. Students are given highly reactive, often toxic ingredients, such as mandrake roots, aconite, or even basilisk venom in theory, and told to handle them under supervision. A single misstep, a dropped vial, or a mispronounced incantation can result in severe injury, permanent magical side effects, or death. And this is just regular coursework. Transfiguration, arguably the most dangerous subject, is taught to teenagers with limited experience. Turning a desk into a pig seems harmless until you consider what happens if the spell misfires. There are documented cases of objects sticking partially transformed, levitating uncontrollably, or attacking the caster. A student could accidentally conjure something they cannot control, and the castle does not intervene until the situation becomes critical. Charms and hexes are deceptively risky as well. A simple summoning charm gone wrong could send a fragile object flying at supersonic speed into a student's face. A miscast shielding spell may deflect an otherwise harmless object into a dangerous trajectory, and yet this is considered part of learning practical magic. Even magical creatures are taught as if they are predictable textbooks. Care of magical creatures exposes students to hippogriffs, acromantulas, and blast-ended scroots. These creatures can and do kill or maim students in controlled lessons, and yet the school persists. A single misjudged movement can result in torn robes, broken bones, or permanent magical trauma. Hogwarts' educational philosophy also borders on experimentation with survival instincts. The castle does not protect students from the consequences of their magical mistakes. Dangerous objects remain accessible. Forbidden spells are left within reach. Even the curriculum itself encourages risky improvisation. Students are evaluated not just on skill, but on how they handle the dangers that naturally arise from practicing magic in a real, uncontrolled environment. And that is before you consider the hidden curriculum, the lessons that come not from teachers, but from survival. Learning to navigate the castle, survive encounters with magical creatures, and detect curses is not optional. It is forced by circumstance. Hogwarts conditions students to take responsibility for their own safety, but without ever actually making the environment safe. Add to this the interpersonal risks. Rivalries, house conflicts, and dueling traditions mean that students are sometimes targeted by their peers, using magic that can be lethal or permanently harmful. A hex from a classmate is not treated as a school-wide emergency unless it escalates. The victims are left to fend for themselves or rely on friends to intervene. Hogwarts is, in effect, a controlled chaos school. Students are immersed in danger constantly, in lessons, in the architecture, and in their social interactions. The school teaches practical, usable magic, but it does so in a world that mirrors real threat levels. The environment itself is both teacher and obstacle. Now, we'll explore the most insidious hazard of all: Hogwarts' relationship with death and dark magic, and why even the smartest students cannot fully anticipate what might happen when they push the limits. While the previous part focused on the obvious, everyday dangers, the most sinister hazards at Hogwarts involve dark magic, death, and the history embedded in the castle itself. Hogwarts isn't just a school. It's a repository of centuries of magical experimentation, conflict, and secrecy. Every corridor, painting, and classroom has seen violence and disaster, some of which is still influential today. The most obvious example is the dark arts curriculum. Though formally restricted to defense against the dark arts, students still encounter dark magic indirectly, cursed objects, enchanted rooms, and historical legacies of dark wizards. Even supposedly harmless classroom objects can conceal ancient enchantments designed for lethal purposes. A textbook or artifact might carry residual curses, and inexperienced students are expected to navigate these threats without incident. Then there's the relationship with death itself. Hogwarts has long been a place where death is ever present, not just metaphorically. The castle has seen murders, duels, and magical accidents that claim lives. Students are expected to confront the reality that even a single misstep could lead to death. And in many cases, the school does not remove the hazard. Instead, it incorporates it into the education. The very act of attending Hogwarts is a tacit lesson in mortality. The castle's architecture adds to the danger. Staircases move unpredictably, hidden rooms appear and disappear, and portraits may mislead students or refuse guidance. Some corridors are enchanted to misdirect intruders, and secret passageways exist that can lead to severe injury or isolation if discovered accidentally. One wrong turn could leave a student trapped in a dark chamber with no immediate help. Even the magical creatures housed within the grounds and castle walls present a persistent threat. From giant spiders in the forbidden forest to mer people in the lake, these beings are not inherently malicious, but they are powerful, unpredictable, and often only partially understood by students. Hogwarts assumes that students will learn caution and strategy through exposure, rather than shielding them entirely. Dark artifacts and relics further increase risk. Items like Horcruxes, cursed objects, and magical traps are occasionally discovered within the castle, often hidden by previous generations. Students may stumble across them accidentally or through curiosity, and the school largely relies on students' judgment rather than strict containment. Some professors actively incorporate risky artifacts into lessons, trusting in supervision but rarely acknowledging the real danger. Perhaps the most insidious risk, however, is the psychological pressure. Hogwarts is a school that teaches survival under constant threat. The competitive environment, combined with exposure to high-stakes magic, dangerous creatures, and peer rivalries, ensures that students are mentally and emotionally tested continuously. Many young witches and wizards experience fear, anxiety, and trauma that the school neither mitigates nor addresses fully. By graduation, students are toughened, but the cost can be subtle and lasting. Finally, Hogwarts has a history of unfinished business. Ghosts, lingering enchantments, and ancient disputes between founders and magical families mean the school itself can act as a dangerous, unpredictable force. Events from hundreds of years ago, from chamber openings to forbidden experiments, can ripple into the present. Students may unknowingly trigger spells or activate curses simply by being in the wrong place at the wrong time. In short, Hogwarts is more than a school. It is a living entity steeped in danger, with centuries of magical history layered into its walls. Students are trained to survive in this environment, but that survival is far from guaranteed. Every lesson, corridor, and magical creature carries risk. The castle teaches resilience, yes, but also the uncomfortable truth that magic is inherently hazardous. Now we'll explore why the house system itself contributes to danger, and how Hogwarts encourages a type of social and magical Darwinism that makes it even more perilous than the physical and magical hazards we've covered so far. Beyond the physical hazards, Hogwarts' house system contributes significantly to the school's danger. On the surface, Gryffindor, Slytherin, Hufflepuff, and Ravenclaw seem like harmless groups for camaraderie and identity. But the truth is that the house system creates an environment of constant competition, psychological stress, and social division, which can be just as perilous as any dark creature or cursed artifact. Each house emphasizes specific traits, rewarding certain behaviors while implicitly punishing others. Gryffindor glorifies bravery, sometimes to the point of recklessness. Slytherin prizes cunning and ambition, often encouraging manipulation and moral flexibility. Hufflepuff stresses loyalty and hard work, which can lead to students being exploited or overburdened. Ravenclaw values intelligence and creativity, but its students may face immense pressure to constantly excel. The inter-house competitions amplify these pressures. Quidditch matches, the House Cup, and other contests are high-stakes events, not merely games. They encourage risky behavior, both in the classroom and outside of it. Students are often pushed to attempt spells, charms, or duels beyond their experience level simply to earn points or avoid losing face. Injuries are frequent and emotional strain is common, yet the school rarely shields students from these risks. Instead, it frames them as lessons in resilience, fostering an environment where the line between healthy challenge and danger is blurred. The social hierarchy within houses adds another layer of risk. Older students often wield power over younger students, whether as prefects or unofficial influencers. While some use this authority responsibly, others exploit it, creating environments where bullying, intimidation, or coercion can thrive. Students must constantly navigate not just magical hazards, but interpersonal ones. The social dynamics often mirror the dangers found in dark magic. Misjudgment, overconfidence, or misplaced trust can lead to serious consequences. Even the house points system, seemingly innocent, can encourage hazardous behavior. Students may attempt risky spells, sneak into forbidden areas, or push magical creatures beyond safe limits to earn points. While this fosters cleverness and initiative, it also creates a culture where recklessness is incentivized and danger is normalized. A student's desire for approval or recognition can override their better judgment, leading to accidents that the school itself tacitly allows. Hogwarts also promotes a form of magical Darwinism. Students are placed in situations where they must solve problems using limited resources, often with no immediate guidance. Enchanted obstacles, moving staircases, and magical creatures test both skill and wit. Failure is not punished with expulsion, but often results in serious consequences, from minor injuries to potentially life-threatening situations. The school's implicit expectation is that only those who can adapt, strategize, and survive under these conditions will thrive. Furthermore, the legacy of the founders influences how danger is interwoven into the school's culture. Slytherin's secret chambers, Gryffindor's daring history, Ravenclaw's emphasis on intellectual trials, and Hufflepuff's labor-intensive training all leave students vulnerable to challenges that are both magical and psychological. The house system institutionalizes risk as a part of daily life, making Hogwarts not just an educational institution, but a pressure cooker where danger is a constant companion. By reinforcing both magical skill and social cunning, Hogwarts ensures that students are not only learning spells and charms, but also developing survival instincts. The house system acts as both training and test, shaping wizards and witches who can navigate threats, whether from creatures, curses, or other students. Yet, the cost of this education is often overlooked. Physical danger, emotional strain, and moral ambiguity are part of the curriculum, baked into the culture of the school itself. Now we'll explore the hidden hazards of Hogwarts' curriculum itself. The dark secrets behind advanced spells, transfiguration, and magical experimentation that make the school uniquely perilous, even for the most talented students. Beyond the dangers of houses, creatures, and enchanted architecture, Hogwarts' curriculum itself is a minefield. Every class, from charms to transfiguration, introduces risks that few modern schools would ever allow. While students are taught powerful spells, the protective oversight is minimal and mistakes can have dire consequences. Take transfiguration, for instance. The art of changing one object into another is deceptively simple on paper, but miscasts can produce anything from a permanent disfigurement to a dangerous creature. A small mistake could transform a chair into a ferocious cat or a pencil into a snake, the kind of accidents that are more than just embarrassing. And there's no substitute for experience. Textbooks and lectures only take a student so far. One slip of a wand can lead to severe injury, and while the professors may correct errors afterward, the immediate threat is real and immediate. Potions class is another hazard-laden environment. Brewing potions often involves ingredients that are toxic, explosive, or sentient. A miscalculation can result in burns, poisoning, or magical backlashes. Consider the difficult brews like the Draught of Living Death or the Polyjuice Potion. One wrong ingredient or incantation could kill or permanently alter the drinker. And despite these risks, students are expected to perform such experiments under time pressure, often while fatigued from earlier classes. Hogwarts does provide supervision, but even experienced instructors like Snape cannot prevent every accident. Then there's defense against the dark arts. Here, students learn to duel with dangerous curses, summon defensive creatures, and disarm potentially lethal spells. Even a training session can result in serious injury. Consider the stunning spell Sectum Sempra or the Cruciatus Curse, both of which are taught in advanced lessons. While professors caution students to avoid lethal use, the reality is that every practiced duel is a brush with potentially permanent harm, and students are often encouraged to improvise, testing their creativity under pressure, a combination that increases risk exponentially. Even everyday lessons in charms and transfiguration carry hidden dangers. Summoning charms, for instance, can hurl objects at high speeds, causing injury. Transfiguring small objects requires precision. Too much force or a misdirected wand can break bones or shatter windows. The magic itself is inherently unpredictable, responding not just to words and wand movement, but to the caster's emotional state. Anxiety, overconfidence, or distraction can turn even a simple spell into an accident. Field trips and extracurricular activities are also perilous. Care of magical creatures, astronomy, and herbology each expose students to environmental hazards, magical creatures, dangerous plants, and extreme weather conditions, often with minimal protective measures. Students may be told safety precautions are implied, but the castle's culture often encourages bravery and ingenuity over caution, normalizing risk as part of the educational experience. Finally, Hogwarts encourages independent exploration and experimentation, which is a double-edged sword. Secret passages, hidden rooms, and unmonitored magical artifacts give students the opportunity to discover knowledge and practice skills on their own. But this autonomy comes with very real dangers. A miscast spell in an unsupervised corridor, exposure to cursed objects, or encounters with dangerous creatures could result in serious harm, or worse. Many of the most famous wizarding injuries, disappearances, or near deaths in Hogwarts history occurred during such unsupervised exploration. In sum, Hogwarts's curriculum is not merely a means of learning magic. It is a training ground for navigating constant danger. Students are expected to master spells that can kill, creatures that can maim, and artifacts that can curse, all while navigating a school with dynamic, shifting hazards. The combination of high-risk classes, minimal supervision, and pressure to excel makes Hogwarts a uniquely dangerous environment. Now in the final part, we'll tie together all the dangers, creatures, architecture, social pressures, and curriculum to reveal why Hogwarts's danger isn't accidental but woven into its very essence, and why the school remains a crucible shaping the next generation of powerful witches and wizards. After exploring the architecture, magical creatures, the social dynamics, and the perilous curriculum, it's time to step back and see the full picture. Hogwarts isn't just a school, it's a living, breathing crucible of danger. Every aspect of the castle, from its enchanted staircases to its hidden chambers, exists simultaneously to educate and to test its students. Danger isn't an accident here. It's woven into the very fabric of learning. The architecture itself is unpredictable. Staircases move without warning, corridors shift, and doors may appear or vanish. A student walking from the library to potions may suddenly find themselves in an entirely different part of the castle. This isn't just inconvenient, it's a test of adaptability and spatial awareness. Even something as simple as a late-night trip to the common room can quickly escalate into a life-threatening maze if a student isn't careful. Then there are the magical creatures, from the smallest classroom pests to the monstrous beings that roam the Forbidden Forest. Hogwarts grounds are teeming with potential hazards. Basilisks, grindylows, hippogriffs, and other magical animals demand respect, knowledge, and caution. Even care of magical creatures lessons carry risk. Students must handle creatures that could bite, crush, or curse them with little more than a moment's inattention. This is hands-on danger, far beyond what ordinary schools could ever contemplate. The social environment is another layer of threat. Inter-house rivalries, Quidditch competitions, and secret alliances all foster stress, competition, and pressure. Students are constantly challenged to navigate a complex web of relationships, where a single misstep could result in social ostracism, public humiliation, or worse. Peer pressure and expectations, combined with magical abilities, magnify these risks exponentially. A poorly aimed spell in a duel or a heated argument could have real consequences. perhaps most critically, Hogwarts's curriculum is intrinsically hazardous. Every class involves spells, potions, or magical theory that could harm a student if misapplied. Transfiguration errors could permanently alter or injure. Potions mistakes could be poisonous. And defense spells wielded improperly could maim or even kill. Students are taught these powers with minimal safety measures expected to learn through trial and error. Success depends on intelligence, focus, and composure. But failure can be dangerously immediate. Even the hidden corners and ancient artifacts of Hogwarts add layers of risk. From the Room of Requirement to the Chamber of Secrets, the castle contains secrets that could be deadly if discovered unwittingly. Students are encouraged to explore, experiment, and take initiative, which often places them in situations far beyond their current level of skill. Hogwarts doesn't shield students from danger, it immerses them in it. Yet, paradoxically, it is precisely this dangerous environment that creates extraordinary wizards and witches. The constant exposure to threats, the need for quick thinking, adaptability, and courage forge resilience and resourcefulness. Harry Potter himself, along with countless others, is proof of Hogwarts's dual role. It is a school, yes, but also a refined proving ground for magical skill, character, and ingenuity. In the end, Hogwarts is the most dangerous school, not because it fails to protect its students, but because it challenges them at every turn. Every stone, spell, and creature is part of an immersive, high-stakes education designed to prepare them for a world in which magical power carries both responsibility and risk. It's a place where knowledge comes at a price, and growth is inseparable from danger. So the next time someone casually mentions Hogwarts as a safe magical school, remember this. Behind the grandeur, the towers, and the enchanted ceilings lies a school that tests mind, body, and courage. A school that is beautiful, fascinating, and terrifying all at once. A school that, in every sense, is a crucible of both education and peril. Hogwarts is not just a castle. It's a legend of danger, a home for the brave, and a reminder that the greatest magic is learned not from comfort, but from facing the unknown. Every day, every class, and every corridor. And with that, our deep dive comes to an end. Hogwarts, in all its history and mystery, is a place where danger and wonder are inseparable, and where only the clever, the daring, and the prepared can truly thrive.